early on in the season. Is that his development? Are they using him in different ways than they have to set him up?
They're using him similarly, and I think the one thing with them that is difficult to defend, go back to what Ken said, is that, all right, well, let's try to take away Robinson. Well, if you take away Robinson, they're going to throw it to the other guy. It's not like they got, it's not skewed where one guy in each game has 15 catches and then everybody else has 2 or 3. It's really distributed across the front. And when they're rolling and humming, they got 4 wideouts in the game, and he'll throw it to all 4 of them. He's an equal opportunity guy in terms of getting it out. And if you try to take the inside slot receiver away, then he'll bang it out to the outside guy. And then all of a sudden you start to play that cat and mouse game, and let's do a little bit more with the outside guy, then he'll start to take the inside guy. I think they're very opportunistic, and they do have a group of them that can make catches. So in one game you may see one guy higher, but I think as it evens out during the course of the season, it gets distributed, and that's what really makes things difficult when it's not just one guy. When it's one guy, I think it's easy defensively and say, hey, we got to roll things to him. When it's 4 guys, it makes things a little bit more difficult.
I was going to ask the read option run game. To what extent, what percentage of opponents at this point present read option? Does that help your defense at all? Did they see so much from you guys?
I think so. I think these teams in certain aspects of the game are similar, and I think also it helps them. I think they'll have a better understanding of what to do because they faced it in practice before. But we're not all read option, and neither is Arizona State. They kind of throw a little bit more bubble than we do. But there's some similar concepts. So the other thing is I think our scout guys, instead of having to draw a card to run the play, we can call our play and say, hey, this is what they're trying to do, and get a better look at a faster tempo and a little bit better understanding of what our guys are doing.
Dwight, Chip, do you have any comment on Coach Stoops' situation?
Yeah, sad. I think Mike's a great guy. Really got to know him well at our Pac-10 and Pac-12 meetings, and then we've had to go take a media tour the last 2 summers, so I think the coaches in this league probably are maybe a little bit closer than coaches in other conferences because we've spent so much time together. But it's an unfortunate part of our business. We went to 3 bowl games in a row, and they weren't having some success this year, and he's out. I haven't had a chance to talk to him. I texted him last night, but it's just tough when you see anybody, no matter what profession it is, when someone loses their jobs. That's what I think. People can scream and yell, fire the guy, but people got lives, and there's a lot more people affected when the head coach is gone too. There's assistants on that staff. There's a new staff coming in. I think it's difficult, but all of us going into this profession understand that, and it's kind of what you know. We all knew that when we signed up for this.
Jake,
how's Cliff Harris doing in practice? Is he getting any closer to earning some more playing time on the defensive side of the ball?
Cliff's doing well. I'll go back and watch the tape with our defensive coaches this afternoon. And the one thing we have at that position is we have a lot of competition. We got 5 guys that can play, and trying to distribute those snaps between certain guys. But everything we do is earned in this program. Nothing saying it to anybody, but Cliff has practiced a little bit better. Looking at yesterday's tape and then going into today, and we'll see how that goes.
What are the other guys doing better than him at practice that are earning that?
Specifically?
Sure.
Braking on a T-cut on a 45-degree angle out of a post corner route.
Jen?
Arizona State ranks 3rd in the country in forcing turnovers. Have you guys focused more on ball security this week?
We haven't focused more, but it's what we do every day, and we obviously, our players are aware of that. They've created 17 turnovers in the last 4 games, and I think 10 in the last 2. So you got to be real conscious of that going in and understanding that you're playing against a ball hockey team. But we do the same things that we do every day, in terms of how we start practice, in our ball security circuit, things like that. I think our players are real conscious of it. They understood how it can affect the game, how drastically it affected it. We turned the ball over 4 times against LSU, and you can't do that. And I think 3 of them led directly to scores. One of them actually led to a score itself. We didn't get our offense on the field. They stripped us on the punt return and returned it. And the other 2 times we put our defense in real bad situations on a short field. So, in this game, in football, the one statistic that is glaring no matter where it is the turnover margin is gigantic. And we got to be aware of that, of being great on our side and being great with ball security, and then trying to create turnovers ourselves. But it'll be a big point in this game, I think, on Saturday. I would imagine the team that wins the turnover battle on Saturday is probably going to win the football game.
Dirk?
You talked a little bit about Aaron Winograd earlier. You're obviously familiar with him, having played here.
Mm-hmm.
What makes him effective? He's not the biggest guy, but he can catch the ball every time.
Yeah, he's got great hands. He's a great route runner. Very, very, very intelligent football player. Extremely tough. I've seen a lot of people try to bang him around and try to disrupt him and all those things. He doesn't get rattled at all, and he just always seems to be in the right place at the right time, and an unbelievable competitor. You know, and I saw that when he was here, and then you see it when you turn the tape on and watch Arizona State play. You know, really, I think really one of the real underrated players in this league.
Steve.
Chip, talking to Darian Weems, he said that, you know, with every carry, you know, and every pass, that it takes all 11 guys to do that. As good as he is, how much of LaMichael's success has been the other 10 guys around him?
It's everybody. You know, this is the quintessential team sport. You know, and there's not one guy that does everything by himself and then 10 guys that are just okay. It takes everybody. And when we're having success offensively, our offensive line's doing what they're supposed to be doing. Our receivers are blocking downfield. You know, LaMichael breaks a 90-yard run against Missouri State, and Justin Hoffman blocks 2 guys at the point of attack. He blocked the corner and the safety as the ball broke down the sideline. So it takes everybody for an individual to be successful. And then if you ask LaMichael, that's the one thing about him. He recognizes that himself. You know, totally a selfless player himself. Is when you get him after the game and say, "How'd you do?" was because the offensive line played well, the quarterback carried out his fakes, the receivers are blocking downfield, and it does take all 11. And that's what I think this team's very successful at, is that there's a unselfishness to them that is kind of unique, is that it's not about me, it's about we, and that goes a long way. You know, that attitude, and they all understand that, and the guys who carry the ball understand that.
So if that attitude wasn't present on a team, an injury might be more detrimental to a team.
Yes.
Rob, I don't know if Robbie's getting any closer to coming back and kicking, but how do you manage that situation when he comes back based on how Alejandro's performed the last few
Same
years?
like we do with every position, competition. You know, it'll it's like everything else, and again, it's all done in practice. You know, so there's competition at the corner spot. There'll be competition at the kicker spot. You know, there's competition at wideout. You'll see some guys all of a sudden, you know, as they start going and we start talking as coaches and we evaluate every day, is, hey, such and such is getting better. You know, and we really need to see if we need to get him on the field a little bit more, because he's doing a really nice job. So it's competition, and competition makes things healthy for you. You know, and I think our players, if you're truly a competitor, you want that. You want someone out there that's going to press you and going to push you, and it's integral for you, because depth is huge in this game. Because injuries are something that happens. You can, you know, kind of stick your head in a hole and say it's not going to happen to us, but injuries happen everywhere across the country, no matter who you're talking to. I would be hard pressed to see if there's any team in the country that's 100% healthy right now after 5 or 6 games into the season. So.
It was obviously a long attempt for Alejandro. Had a tough first attempt for him. How did he bounce back from that?
I thought he was fine. You know, he's got one of those personalities that, you know, it's always on to the next kick, and you know, and our whole team's mindset is that. And, you know, if he hit the 52-yarder, that was a bonus. If he didn't hit it, you know, I was comfortable in our defense going back on the field with the way they were playing. You know, that they were going to do a good job. It's no different than going for it on 4th down, and it was a little bit far out for us to make a 4th down conversion there. So, you know, hey, let's go see if we can hit it.
Rick, you're at the midpoint of the season. At this point, just kind of give me a grade for your offense and defense and special teams. Are you happy with where you're at with those 3 groups?
80%.
80%.
4 out of 5 is 80%. So we're 80%.
Articulate.
4 out of 5 is 80%.
No.
8 out of 10 is 80%.
And how did that 4 out of 5? What are the 4 of the 5?
The 4 of the 5 is if we played 5 games and we've won 4 of them,
Okay.
so we're 80%.
That is
That's
the
how I
ultimate
grade.
benchmark.
That's how I grade everything. It's a real simple deal. I'm not very good at math. You know, we're not going to get into Pythagorean's theorem right now, but I'm just going to tell you that if we win the game, then we did what we were supposed to do to win the game. If we lost the game, then that's a mark against us. So we don't grade on a curve. It's very straight ahead. If you're 4 out of 5, then you're 80%. You know, if we were 2 out of 4, we'd be 50%. If we were 3 out of 5, I'd have to really get the calculator out. 60. There you go.
Warren?
Coach, you talked about turnovers being important, but penalties have certainly been a big thing with the Ducks. 11 penalties, I think, last week. What can you do in practice? How do you clean it up?
We emphasize it all the time in practice, and we were really good, you know, in the 3 middle games, you know, in terms of staying away from it. We weren't very good in the opener, and we weren't very good against Cal, and it's a matter of making sure that our hands are in the right spot, making sure that we're you know, getting the right interpretation from the officials of what they're calling, what they're not calling. But it's something we emphasize every day, is that, you know, penalties are self-inflicted wounds, and that we can't, you know, continue to play with a lot of penalties, and those are just setbacks to us. And either it keeps the drive alive if obviously it happens it happens on a special teams or a defensive play, or if it's on offense, it kind of sets us back in terms of playing downhill football. And it's a lot easier to play 2nd and 5 than it is to play 2nd and 15. So our players understand that, and we emphasize it every day in practice.
Is that more youth?
No. I mean, that's an excuse if you use youth. You know, I'm a young guy, it's okay to get a penalty. It's not okay to get a penalty no matter how old you are or how young you are. So.
Natalie, we're going back to the phone one more time. Any more questions? Please press *1 if you have a question.
At this time, we have no questions.
Any question that hasn't been asked here yet?
I'm sorry, you have a line? You have a question from the line of Steve Summers?
Okay, go ahead, Steve.
.com.
Chip, there's been some discussion about the turnovers, takeaways. Last week, there was one interception tally, there were 15 breakups. Is that just a matter of the defensive backs just not holding on to passes, or is that something that you want to see an improvement on, or is the breakups a good figure for you?
You obviously want to see an improvement on the takeaway part of the game, because it really can change the landscape of the game. But you know, the fact that we do have that many breakups, it tells you how close we are. And then sometimes the ball just bounces a crazy way in this game, and it's you know, you hope over the course of the season things iron themselves out. If they do, that means we're up for a lot of turnovers coming our way pretty soon here. But you know, I think if you can't intercept it, at least knock it down. And our guys are doing a really good job. They've been very, very close in coverage. You know, I don't know if I've been in a game that's had that many pass breakups. You just hope 1 or 2 of those would just kind of bounce our way and we get a hand on. I know Troy Hill had one that you know, when you watch the replay, you're like, oh God, that would have been big. You know, there's one bouncing around that got tipped in the middle that went through Terrell Turner and some of those guys' hands. But sometimes you make those plays, sometimes you don't make those plays. But I like the way our defense is playing from an effort standpoint. I like the way we're breaking up passes. You know, I just think that this turnover thing's going to break here a little bit, and when it does, I think it will be beneficial to us.
Okay, thanks, Natalie. Anything else here? That's it.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.